Hey everyone, and welcome to today's video. Today we are making a facial cream with some natural emulsifiers. We have a small lipid phase in phase A, along with an anionic and a non-ionic emulsifier for added stability. And then of course we have coconut water, distilled water, and in our water phase. And then we have our rheology modifier and humectants in a separate phase, because of course, since we are using a natural gum, I'm using Silly Gel. You could also use Sola Gum AX. I know there's a Silly Gel shortage. I happen to have a little bit left and I'm out of Sola Gum. In coming videos, I will teach you guys how to work with car bombers. The reason I don't work with them a lot for my videos is because they do require specific equipment to work with. If you do not have an overhead stir, car bombers are not going to work properly for you. I'm going to go ahead and slurry my Silly Gel into my propylene glycol and propanediol. Now in this video, I'm mixing by hand because I'm doing a really small batch just for actually my own needs. I'm out of my face moisturizer that I usually make, and I made this a while ago for a neighbor and she really liked it, so I'm gonna try it on myself this time. Okay, I'm going to pour what will be listed as phase B2 into phase B. Now, if you are making a bigger batch than I am, I'm doing 100 grams just for the video. As most of you know, I do small batches for videos, just because it takes so long to heat bigger batches that they just aren't convenient for when I'm doing a video. But if you do upsize, you will need to use a, sorry, I'm not thinking straight. You will need to use, you won't be able to mix by hand. This phase you will not be able to mix these two phases by hand. You will need to use a stick blender or a homogenizer. Okay, so we are going to heat phase B. Now you're probably wondering why I'm not heating my lipid phase. And the reason being, my lipid phase is fairly small. And if I was to put this on what I call the fire, it would more than likely burn my emulsifier, which I don't want. So we're going to heat phase B to 85 degrees Celsius. A bit different than with a standard emulsion. And at that point, we will pour it in. I'm gonna let this heat up and I'll be right back. Okay, so this is starting to heat up. Always make sure when you've got a rheology modifier in your water phase that you're stirring while it heats by hand. Let's see where we're at temperature-wise. We are getting there, guys. Okay, and we're hitting close to 80. Again, remember, you've got to overheat this phase to 85 rather than between 70 and 80. This is an important step. Please do not heat it till 70 and then come back and say, can you use my emulsion separated, okay? Because it will. So 85, you want to be at 85 degrees Celsius. And we are past that. Fantastic. Okay. Now we are going to pour our lipid phase into our water phase. And you want to do this quickly if you're doing a small batch like I am, because you don't want to lose water to evaporation. Now you are going to really, really whisk, because you want to make sure that entire lipid phase is completely melted. Which ours has. Okay, so okay, there we go. Now again, if you are doing a bigger batch, of course, you are going to need to use your stick blender or a homogenizer. I generally, for my videos, use a rheology modifier that is not shear sensitive so that everyone can make it. I will do a poll to see how many of you have an overhead so I could start to incorporate some of my formulas that do use shear sensitive materials. Okay, I'm going to pop this in the fridge and we will be back when it's cooled. Okay, so this has fully cooled. I am going to be adding, I picked a natural preservative for this. I know many of you don't like Liquid Germal Plus, and the reason I tend to use it a lot is because it's never failed me, for one, but two, more importantly, is because I know a lot of people that are members of Patreon or following me don't have really good pH meters. So if you don't have a great pH meter, you need a preservative that has a, I'm not sure what, I just sanitized that. Sorry, guys. Like I just sanitized it in between. Anyhow, they don't have a great pH meter. And with Optifin Plus, it is not only extremely pH sensitive, but you also have to take into account pH drift. When you are when you have a product that's going to have, this is Eluxol K903. Sorry guys, I'm in such a my granddaughter unexpectedly is coming tonight for a sleepover, and I am not really prepared for it, so my mind's kind of somewhere else. When you use Optifin, you've got to take into account for pH drift. When we formulate a stable product, the idea is that each product should have a minimum shelf life of 3 years. There's a few exceptions to that where the shelf life is 2 years, but generally when you formulate something, it should be good for 3 years. If not, it's not really worth selling that particular formula. You might want to work on something else, because when you make a bunch of products and people purchase them, you don't know, one, when they're going to use them. Generally, people, yes, do use them right away, but you also are not going to be able to scale your business very well if you're only able to produce handfuls of product at a time. You want to be able to make larger batches so that you can focus on selling the products instead of always having to make products. I hope this makes sense anyways. Now again, just in case you didn't hear at the beginning of my video, if you are making a larger batch than this, please do not hand whisk it. Your emulsion will separate and you will come back and say, Denise, it didn't work. You need to use a stick blender. I'm only making 100 grams because this is one of the few ones that I am going to be using for myself. So you can see it's not, I mean, it will thicken a bit overnight. Not as much as it would with, say, a car bomber, but it will thicken up a bit, but it's not an extremely thick emulsion, which is ideal for the face, right? So back, I'm kind of all over the place with this video today. I'm so sorry, guys. So back to Optifin, just to educate you guys a little bit on why I don't always use it for my videos. It's extremely pH sensitive. If you were using pH strips, Optifin Plus is not a great preservative for you. The reason being, pH strips read in whole numbers. When we are adjusting the pH, we want to make sure, say we want it to be, Optifin's active between a pH of 4 to 6. So say you want your emulsion to sit at a 5.5. You can't gauge that with pH strips. You also can't take into account that 10% drift. And when I say a 10% drift, you don't know, I don't know, no one knows whether it is going to drift up or drift down. All we know is it will drift. So you've got to gauge for that, because if your formula is read with a pH strip, let's test this one just for an example. I generally, and I don't know why I adjust the pH off camera, but anyhow, I normally do. I'm going to show you. Here. Okay, so this sits right at 5 with the pH strips. Now, is it 5? Is it 5.1? Is it 5.2? Is it 5? Is it 5.4? Is it 5.6? We don't know. So, if this was Optifin Plus and not Yuxalt K903, which is stable between 3 to 8, I believe. However, the preservative works best in a pH range. I'm going off memory here, guys, so I could be slightly off. I believe it's 5.1 to 5.4, if I'm correct. I could be wrong, but it's still stable throughout a pH of 3 through till 8, which is what Liquid Germal Plus is. So that's why you generally see me use Liquid Germal Plus. It's also universal. It's available just about anywhere, which helps a lot of you that aren't in Canada or the US. So just to kind of let you guys know why you see me use it so much, I like to just be as transparent as possible. Now this, I will let sit overnight. I can show you what I'm going to be packaging in. I am using this. I will take pictures of it tomorrow, but this is just a airless pump. Okay. If you guys have any questions, as always, put them in the comments and I will get to them. Have a wonderful day, and I will probably see you guys tomorrow with another video.